Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Damn You Two Sports Talk Show. It's your boy Ralph Sneaks, man, back with another episode. I think this is episode 15 we on now. Um, if you ain't already done so, man, head over to YouTube, subscribe to the content, hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I drop new content. Head over to IG, damn underscore YouTube underscore sports talk. That's where I'm at on IG, my personal page, Ralph underscore Sneaks. If you want to follow me personally, head over to X, Twitter, whichever you call it. Damn YouTube Sports Talk. That's where I'm at over there. But another episode, man. I think it's episode 15. We're gonna get to it. Um, Hopefully everybody out there feeling good, doing well. Just maintaining. But this whole NIL, man, I gotta break it down. I wasn't even gonna talk about the NIL, but I think the NIL right now is about to get ridiculous. Now don't get me wrong, I'm all for the players getting paid because the NCAA has been making so much money off these players for so long. I'm talking about a long period of time. They've been making money off of these guys, so much money to the point where they should have been getting paid. They should have been getting something, the amount of money that the NCAA was making, but they weren't. And I think the NIL just came about in around 2021, somewhere around there. So it ain't been around that long. But the NCAA and sports have been around much, much longer than that, and they've been making shitload of money for a long period of time off of these athletes. So I'm all for the guys getting paid, but I think at some point you got to put some stipulations on this because it's about to spiral out of control and it's about to start affecting other things, not just in college sports, but on the professional level, pertaining to football. That is. Um, so yeah, man. I mean, what sparked this whole thing was the fact that I was online yesterday. I was on social media looking, and I came across this sports page. I can't remember whose sports page it was, but I saw that they were going to be having Oklahoma State is going to be wearing the QR codes are going to be on the back of their helmet this year, where you can scan the QR code and donate NIL money. The QR code is on the back of the helmets. You can scan the QR code and you can donate NIL money to them. I mean, it's brilliant with putting the QR code on it, but this whole NIL thing is getting out of is they keep it, but you gotta put some rules and you gotta put some stipulations on it because like anything that's new to something, there's still kinks they gotta be worked out. You know, you look at the NFL, that's $1 billion business, $1 billion brand. When they try new things, it don't go accordingly at first because it's new. They still got to get some kinks worked out. The NFL has been around for a long, long time, and up until currently, whenever they try new things, it doesn't work necessarily right out of the gate exactly like you want. There's still some things that you got to iron out, some kinks you got to iron out in order for it to run as smoothly as you're playing for it to work out. So, with the NIL being so new to sports, college sports that is, there's still some kinks and things they got to work out to make sure this thing goes smoothly and it don't affect other things. You know, like I said, you look at Oklahoma State, they're gonna be wearing the QR codes on the back of their helmet where you can donate, NIL. You look at Nick Saban, who allegedly retired because of NIL. I think it was some other reasons, but he said, the love for the game is no longer there when you have players that are prioritizing money first. And a lot of times you can't blame these players because a lot of these, not all the players, but a lot of these players are coming from situations where they didn't have money. They grew up, there's a lot of kids that grew up in single parent homes. It's a lot of kids that didn't come from the best environments. It's a lot of kids that barely made ends meet. Some didn't make ends meet. There's a lot of players. There are some players that grew up, may have grew up in foster homes, in not ideal situations, bad situations. So them going to these colleges and these schools profiting and making all this money off of them, and they can't make a dime to better their situation but they can seem to make these colleges so much money and they can't seem to make a dime, to the point where if they did try to make some under the table money, there was a suspension coming and the school was going to be handed down sanctioned. So now that the NIL is legal, like I say, I'm all for making this money because a lot of kids didn't come from ideal situations. And, all the money that has been made off of these kids from previous years, they just now starting to get a slight percentage of what they should have been getting for all the money that's been made over the years off these kids. Now I'm going to take it a step further and willing to say that the NIL now is kind of with collegiate sports, it's kind of like the government. You know what I'm saying? A lot of things that are illegal are because the government can't benefit and profit from it. Like marijuana. Weed is now being legalized because the government is now benefiting and profiting from it. Before they wasn't benefiting and profiting from it. The only benefit that came from it, and I don't even know what you consider this a benefit, was the fact that if you got caught with it when it was illegal, you went to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you had to pay, it depending on how much you got caught with. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't get the same bail or bond when you go to jail. Some people don't even get a bond, but depending on how much you get, you got to pay to get bonded out, bailed out. You got to pay a lawyer, court fees. And if you get sentenced to some probation, you got to pay your probationary officer. You got to pay all that. So if you want to consider that a benefit for the government, whatever, it is. But when weed was illegal, and it's not legal everywhere, but it's legal in places, and I think it's going to only start to become more legal in more places sooner rather than later. But it's now legalized in some places because they're now benefiting from it. When it was no benefit, it was illegal. But now that they can benefit from it, they legalize it. So I think that's what you can equate that to, what's going on with the NIL in college sports. The NCAA was benefiting even when they didn't pay the players. But now they're going to benefit even more that they paying the players. You're not going to pay a player $2, $3, $4 million and you don't get no benefit from it. Even though you've been making tons of money previously from not paying these kids, and now these kids can get paid through the NIL, I can guarantee you there's some more with them allowing this NIL to go down. And now that the schools can directly pay the kids, plus the NIL, schools can directly pay them now. I guarantee you there's tons of benefit that me and you may not directly see, but they see behind closed doors that there's a ton of benefit from paying these guys now. Even they probably benefit more now paying them than they were without paying them. That's got to be part of the reason why they allow these kids to get paid now, because they see benefit. If they didn't see any more benefit from it, they still would make it illegal. But I guarantee they're benefiting a shitload behind the scenes that we don't even see and know about in more ways than what we know about. There are a lot of benefits now that these guys are not gonna allow a player to get paid $2, $3 million and then they only make a little bit more than that. They're making a shitload of money off of the guys that's even getting paid this NIL money. So they're not going to make something legal when they're not going to greatly benefit from it. There's a great benefit from it behind closed doors, whether we see it or not. And that's what's going on here. The NIL is about to get out of control. I'm all for the players getting paid, but with things like this, there's still got to be some type of stipulation. There's still got to be, something to kind of keep this thing in line, to make it run as best and smoothly as it possibly can. You got kids jumping in the transfer portal every year. You got kids getting this money, sitting out these bowl games. And I'm going to get into that. But can you imagine what guys that weren't in the NIL era would have been getting if they were in this NIL era? Could you imagine what a guy like Johnny Manziel would legally get if he was in his NIL era? Could you imagine what a guy like, let's say, Tim Tebow would have gotten? A Jadeveon Clowney, a Cam Newton, a Reggie Bush, just to name a few. I don't want to go too far back, even though I could go back to like the Bo Jacksons and the Barry Sanders and the Archie Mannings, the Herschel Walkers, the Tony Dorsett days. I can go back there. Did you imagine what guys, if the NIL was around way back then? You know how big how much money Johnny Manziel generated for Texas A&M? And you know how much money that he was able to legally get? I'm not saying Johnny Manziel didn't get no money. I'm talking about the legal money he could have got because it wasn't legal then. So if he got money, it was under the table money, and it wasn't even the amount of money that he could have gotten if the NIL was legal then. But you know how much money that was generated, Texas A&M generated from Johnny Manziel? They generated a shitload of money off of just Johnny Manziel. We're not even talking about the other players that was on the team. We just talking about Johnny Manziel himself. Now, I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you and hold you. I think Johnny Manziel did get paid some money under the table. You know what I mean? He probably got paid more than what he's speaking on. And I mean, he did do an interview on Club Shay Shay talking about that. But the money that he got paid under the table, it wasn't even close to the money that he generated. Wasn't even a fucking fraction close to the money that he generated for Texas A&M. You know how much money Cam Newton generated one year he was in Auburn for the University of Auburn? You know, even though USC is a legendary historical college, you know how much money that was generated with Reggie Bush at USC? Tim Tebow down in Florida. All these schools are big time schools that generated that these players generated a shitload of money for. Do you know how much money they would have got paid if they were in this NIL era now? They would have got paid money too. So, like I said, now these athletes can get paid directly from the schools now. It's like you got to put some stipulate, you got to put a cap on it because this shit about to get out of hand. It's about to be a lot of finger pointing if you don't put a cap on it. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to consider it or done it already, but it's going to be a lot of finger pointing going on. It's going to be a lot of complaining going on with anything that you do, you know, or implement that's new. Like I said, Nick Saban, he allegedly retired from football because of the NIL. Like I said, I don't think that was the sole reason why he retired. I think he retired for other reasons, but he just, you know, highlighted the NIL being the reason. You know, I think the NIL got to the point where Nick Saban couldn't control the narrative no more because the money was narrative that the players were using, and you know, he couldn't control the narrative no more because now money is legally involved. That's just my take on it, and you know, and he can't really control it no more. It's now a business in college. You know what I mean? The same type of business that you're gonna have to conduct and run when you get to the professional level at the NFL. This is the same. That's the same way you gotta think and run it now. And you know, I'm like I say again, I'm all for them getting paid, but you gotta put some stipulations on this because it's about to get way out of control. It's about to get out of hand. You had the founder of Nike, Phil Knight. You know, he's offering University of Oregon, his alma mater. He's offering them unlimited NIL. He want to win a national championship in Oregon that bad that he's offering them unlimited NIL. Unlimited. Whatever you want, here, you got it. However much it's gonna cost, here, you got it. Get the guys in here that need to be in here for us to win this national championship. So now you're buying national championships rather than, it's more so buying them now rather than earning them. You know, and like I said, I'm all for guys getting paid, but it's got to be some stipulations on this. You know, you look at the bowl games. Look at these guys that's getting this NIL money and then come to get to the bowl games and they want to sit out. They load managing in college sports now, the bowl games. Look at how many Florida State players sat out for the Orange Bowl against Georgia. Yeah, I think they had at least 14 players out. And I'm willing to bet I wasn't at the game. I wasn't even down there in damn Miami when the game was going on. But I'm willing to bet them damn, at least them damn 14 players that sat out. All them players wasn't no damn hurt. They wasn't injured. A lot of them players were sitting out because they want to prep them. Was the two reasons, main reasons. I think a lot of players want to sit out because they didn't want to risk injury. They was prepping themselves for the NFL. One and two, I think that Florida State as a whole, especially the main guys that did sit out, they were playing in a game that they weren't prepared to play in. They were prepared to play or prepared to be one of the 4 teams going into the playoffs competing for a national championship, and that wasn't the case. They felt like they got snubbed. They felt like the committee snubbed them. They felt like they should have been one of the 4 teams in there. And there was a lot of other people that felt like that too. So as a result, them guys, even if they weren't going to be one of the 4 teams in, a lot of them guys sitting out because they didn't want to risk injury to get to the next level, the NFL. But see, what you got to understand and realize is That's one of the stipulations that they're gonna have to, in my opinion, that they're gonna have to put on this money. They're gonna have to put some rules and regulations on this money. If we paying you NIL money, that means we're paying you to play. We're not paying you to sit out. If you're not injured, play, regardless of whether you're going to the NFL or not. This is a game, even if it's a bowl game. This is a game that's being sponsored by a big company or brand, and we want you, your ass getting paid. We want your ass out there on the field. Now, Florida State went out there and just got all kinds of hell beat out of them by Georgia. They had at least 14, 15 guys not playing, and that's just on the Florida State side. I'm talking about all kinds of hell got beat out of Florida State down there in Miami by Georgia. Georgia came out there and put foots in ass against Florida State. Now, one could argue that, well, if you feel like you deserve to be one of the 4 teams, why don't you get out here and play up against one of these powerhouses that you would probably, a team that's going to get to see in the playoff, a Georgia-like team with your guys, and see how you stack up against that. But that wasn't in the plans. You know, Florida State felt like they should have outright been in, so a lot of guys felt like, well, damn, man, they shitted on us. Why the hell we playing the bowl game, and this ain't the game that we should be in. And like I said, a lot of them are prepping and preparing themselves to go NFL. But NFL, you can have an injury not just in a game, you can have injury in practice. You could be out there preparing for the NFL draft, doing drills, and it doesn't take for you to be engaged in contact to tear ACL. We've seen people tear ACLs, a non-contact injury. We've seen people tear Achilles just simply running. So you can do that without even playing in the game. So if you're getting paid $2, $3, $4 million and your ass ain't out there on the field, to me, as a business, as a brand that's sponsoring them bowl games, that's the issue. You know, you're getting paid and you're not playing. That's the issue. You're not injured to the point where you can't play. Now, if you injured to the point where you can't play, that's a different story. But if you're not injured to the point where you can't play, your ass should be out there. I get it. You're trying to preserve your health because you want to, you know, prep for the NFL, get to the next level, you know, Senior Bowl coming up. Then you got the draft coming up in April, this, that, and that. I get all that. And some people feel like, well, we done played a whole season, so they got a whole season worth of film and tape on me, you know. So I don't think one bowl game is going to hurt me if I don't play because they got a whole season of film on me from the first game all the way up into the from the last game. So missing one bowl game ain't gonna hurt, but that ain't the point. They paying you, and that's gonna lead to bigger issues, you know. Because if you don't, it's like once a problem happens, if you don't get on top of that problem when it first kick off, and nip that shit in the bud when it first kick off before it turns into another issue or a bigger problem, you're gonna have problems taming that issue. That's what I'm saying. This is still early on with this NIL stuff. You know, you gotta iron the kinks and shit out now as much as you can before one problem turns into another or that problem turns into a bigger problem. And now you're gonna have trouble trying to stop what you should have stopped before it got to be the issue that it's got to be. You know what I'm saying? So now you got situations where you could possibly have, you know, you got guys jumping in the portal, this, that, and the third. Now you like I said, you got it where schools can pay directly now. You know what I'm saying? So let me just give you a prime example of like what I'm saying, because you know, a lot of people don't really think it's that big of an issue. They should get paid. Like I say, I'm all for them getting paid. I want them to get paid. But when, you know, when you're dealing with money, you gotta put some stipulations on it. You know what I mean? That's me. If I'm dishing out that kind of money, it's got to be some type of stipulation. It's got to be some type of rules and regulations on that. You know, I'm just not giving out free money. You know, I want something on the return of my money. You know what I mean? And I don't want you just sitting out if you're not hurt. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you load managing. You know. So let's just say, and I'm just gonna use Shedeur Sanders as an example. I get it. That's primetime Deion's son. He at Colorado. I get it. let's not even use his name. Let's just say a quarterback, right? There's a quarterback that's eligible to come out this year. He's also eligible to return back to school next year. Let's say last season he had a damn good season. This season, he don't have a bad season, but he doesn't have a season as good as he had last year. And let's say he was eligible to come out last year, but he wasn't. But if he was, they projected him to be a top 10 pick, first round, top 10. Based off the season that he had, he now slides, second round. Projection, second round, Then he goes out to the Senior Bowl, leading up to the draft. He's starting to, slightly decline down the second round. And we all know how the draft goes. There's players that get taken higher than they should, and there's players that don't go as high as they should. And it's surprise draft picks that make good players fall down in the round and, get to the bottom of the first. You slide to the second, going down the second, slide to third, whatever. There's great players that are projected to go one position. They end up going a whole sliding all the way further than they projected slide. But back to the quarterback. He projected, he's sliding down the second round or whatever. Here comes the draft. He was projected first round, he don't go. And it was already said prior to the draft that him sliding out of the first round could be a possibility. Him sliding to the top of the second. To get to the second round, he don't go. But he's looking at where he's projected to go. We ain't at the draft yet. This is where he's projected to go. And he has the opportunity to come out, or he has the opportunity to go back for another year eligibility they got. So he's looking at his projection slide. And when you slide in the draft, not only do you slide, your money slide too. So a top 10 pick ain't gonna get the same money as a second round pick. A second round pick ain't gonna get the same. A third round pick ain't gonna get the same money as a second round pick. A fourth round pick ain't gonna get the same money as a third. Your money slide when you slide. So he slid down to the second rounds projected. He continued to slide. He go out there and have an okay performance at the Senior Bowl. So he's sliding. You know what I mean? He's sliding or whatever the case may be. Or let's say he don't even make it to the Senior Bowl. He don't even make it to the Senior Bowl. He just projection just slide. He don't like where he projected to go. But he can come back to school and get some NIL money. And the money he's gonna look to get, because money, it only increases. You know what I mean? The NIL money they get now is only gonna increase. Just like the NFL money is increasing. We never seen wide receivers get $35 million a year before, but we seeing it now. We never seen quarterbacks get $55 million before. We seeing it now. And the scary part about it is it's quarterbacks that still got to get paid in the future. So 55 million it's going to be more than 55 million soon. There's still receivers they got to get paid, or we're going to be looking to get paid in the future. So 35 million, the highest paid receiver, what you see now, that's going to be in the past because it's going to surpass 35. So the money's going to grow from that aspect. This NIL money is going to grow. So let's just say that quarterback, he made $4 million, $4.5 million on NIL that season. But he's come back to for another year eligibility in school rather than go to the draft. And he makes, let's say he goes from 4.5 to 6.5 million. That's just for one season. If he goes into the draft and gets selected where he's projected to get selected at, he won't make that much going into the NFL. So what incentive would it be for him to even go into the NFL when he can go back for another year eligibility and make more money through the NIL? See, now you're getting into the business of the NFL. Because what if that was a quarterback that owners or a owner who was in position to get or wanted to get, despite the drop, the projected drop, the owner may have wanted to get him because the owner is looking at dollars. The owner is looking at this guy can come in. Not only can he fill a position of need at the quarterback position, but this guy gonna come in. He's gonna sell tickets and put asses in seats, which is money I'm making. This guy's gonna come in and sell merch. This guy's gonna come in and be one of the fan favorite players on this team. This one of the guys that I can possibly make the face of the franchise. This one of the guys that's gonna help us get more TV time, more prime time coverage. All this right here is gonna equal some shitload of dollars for the owner. But that player ain't coming out. That player going back. He going back for another year eligibility in college, and he's gonna make $6.5 million on NIL. Now you got to wait till the following year to try to get this player. But the following year, you may not be positioned the following year the same way you are positioned now to get this guy. So now what the NIL just did in college sports is it just took a player away from an owner that was going to make a shitload of money. So at some point, you got to ask yourself, will the NFL get involved with this NIL thing? I don't know how, because the NFL is not college, college is not NFL. But you gotta look at this thing, because I don't know if y'all remember this, but Caleb Williams, who was the first overall pick to the Chicago Bears, when he was at USC, there was a rumor that he may return back to USC because he didn't want to go to Chicago because of the type of NIL money that he was looking to get. Now I'm not saying that he, first overall pick, he got a shitload of money, but I think some of that had to do with him not kind of wanting to be in Chicago as well too. But what if this dude had said, "Look, man, I'm gonna go back to USC. I know that the Bears got the first overall pick, and that would just more so be his preference, not wanting to play with Chicago if that happened. But man, look, I'm comfortable getting this money another year. I'm not really, fully committed right now, to the NFL. I'll go back to USC another year. I'm not worried about the money because I'm gonna be making X, Y, and Z to return back to USC for another year. The money is probably not gonna be what you make being the first overall pick, but it's some money. It's million. So how you think the Chicago Bears will feel not being able to get, Caleb Williams? It's not all about the money. It is, I say 50-50. It's the preference and the money. But how you think the Chicago Bears owner would feel if money was brought up in the equation by him returning? Because it's got to be, because he's going to make more being the first overall pick than the NIL money that he probably was going to make at going back to USC. But that's why I say it's 50-50 money and just the fact that it's Chicago Bears, and it might have not been his preference to be there. But how you think the NFL, the Chicago Bears owner would have felt, missing out on a Caleb Williams, a franchise quarterback that not only would fill the position of need, but it also would have sold tickets and put asses in seats in Chicago. That also would have sold merch in Chicago. That also would have garnered them more games, televised games, primetime games, which would equate more money for the ownership. How you think he would have felt if he had missed out on a shitload of money from all them different avenues if the guy don't come out and you in position to get the guy and he goes back for some NIL money? Prime example, you got a guy, let's say Malik Willis, who came out of Liberty. That was the same thing I was saying about the quarterback. I wasn't necessarily talking about him, but leading up to the draft, he was a projected first round pick, right? Now there was, he ended up getting drafted third overall, the third round pick, 86 overall to the Tennessee Titans. His deal was 4 years, $5.1 million. For getting drafted in the third, and that's a 4-year deal. That's not $5.1 million for 1 year. That's $5.1 million over 4 years. So he was projected first round pick. He didn't end up getting drafted, not second round. He ended up getting drafted into the third round. He was the 86th overall pick. It was some mocks that had this dude going right around 10, 12, 13ish. Now he would have made way more money if he had got drafted in that 10, that 10, 11 range than he would being the 86th overall pick in the third round. Because this dude was projected to be a first round pick, and he didn't get drafted into the third round. You know how much money he lost between being projected to be that top, that 10, 12 pick, 13 pick, and then going 86? He lost a shitload of money dropping that far in the draft. From that far in the first round all the way to that low in the third round. His contract, like I said, he signed was a 4-year contract for $5.1 million. Now, what if Malik Willis was getting NIL money? His NIL money probably would have been more than that $5.1 million if you look at it. Because if you do the breakdown, 4 years, $5.1 million over 4 years, that's a little over $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So what if he had a went back and got, and like I said, this $5.1 million is over a 4-year period. Not over a 1-year period, over a 4-year period, he got $5.1 million. So you do the math on that. 4 years, a little over $1 million for 4 years. You know what I mean? So if he was in the NIL era, he probably would have gotten more money being at Lip or hitting the portal, leaving Liberty, because like I said, athletes, he get paid directly. He would have probably gotten more money hitting the portal, leaving Liberty, going somewhere else. He probably would have got $3-4 million just to come back, hit the portal, go somewhere else, and play another season. He would have gotten more money to return to college than he would have going to the NFL. And if you look at the Tennessee Titans, they would be labeled as a small market team. So if you're a small market team, you can't afford to have that type of stuff happening in the NFL. The NFL is a $1 billion business. These NFL owners are billionaires. Yeah, people say, oh, well, yeah, it's the NFL. They make $50 billion a year. I don't give a fuck if they make $500 million a year, $500 billion a year. There's no business on that level where there's no business that wants to take a loss. I don't give a fuck how much money you worth. I don't give a fuck how much money you're making or whatever. You could be making a $500 million a year. You don't want to take you don't want to go in the red and take a loss nowhere. And if you do go in the red and take a loss, I don't give a fuck if it's $1 million loss you take and you making $500 million that year and you have a $1 million loss. I don't give a damn. They have people to go in and see exactly what did we lose $1 million, how did we lose $1 million, and why did we lose $1 million, and what needs to be done so we won't lose another $1 million, and what else needs to be done so we can recoup the $1 million that we lost. That's business. That's how it works. So yeah, people say, oh man, the NFL, they make plenty of money. They don't care about losing $1 million. The hell they don't. They might seem like that, but I guarantee you they got motherfuckers in place that if they take a loss somewhere, they investigate why they lost, when they lost it, and how we gonna fix this shit so we won't lose it again. And we need to come up with a plan ASAP of how we gonna recoup that money that we lost, and on top of profiting, still making profit. So yeah, they make tons of money, but they don't want to lose no money either. And that's exactly what you would be doing, losing money if you have a player such as, like I gave example of Malik Willis. And now, I mean, you can look at it now in hindsight and say, oh, Malik Willis ain't like that, is that and third, but I'm just using him as an example. What if it is a said player that's like that chooses to go back? Now the NFL owner missed out on a franchise player at a key position. He missed out on selling that player, putting asses in seats, selling them tickets. Additional TV time, merch. That's money that the ownerships are missing out, or the owners of these teams are missing out on, which is ultimately a team in the NFL is just a branch up under the NFL umbrella. So it's 32 NFL teams. The NFL is a big ass umbrella, and they got 32 branches up under that umbrella. And those 32 branches represent the 32 teams in the NFL that's up under the NFL umbrella. So essentially, when you fuck up a owner's money, you fuck up NFL's money too. Not just the owner, though, the NFL too. Because the owner ain't the only one making money. The NFL as a league in itself is making money too. So when money get fucked up with a franchise's owner, it trickles down to getting fucked up with the NFL's money. And they gonna get together. They gonna have these secret meetings. They gonna get together. They gonna have these owners only meetings at these resorts in these exotic places. They gonna get together and they gonna figure out, well, this is a problem. It's not just one team problem. This is gonna be a league's problem. So that's why we got to get everybody together, and we got to get this shit up, get this shit together before it spiral out of control. Because it messed up my money, which essentially where it cost me some money, which essentially gonna cost the NFL some money. But we don't see it like that because we just see how much the NFL is worth and how much they making. But the NFL don't see it like that. The NFL see it as, yeah, we make a shitload of money and we work for shitload of money. But whenever we take a loss somewhere, we gonna go and figure out. We ain't just gonna say, okay, well, we make tons of money. We ain't worried about taking that loss. We gonna go in here and we gonna see why the hell we took a loss, when we took the loss, who was responsible for the loss, how the fuck we gonna fix this so we won't lose more money, and not only fix it so we won't lose no money, let's come up with a solution to recoup the money that we did lose. They're gonna come up with a solution to the problem. They're gonna find an answer and come up with it. And that's what I'm saying is like, will the NFL eventually get involved with this NIL? Because I can see it spiraling over into the NFL. You know what I'm saying? I could see a player not going to the NFL because he's going to make probably more money in 1 year going back, getting NIL money at college than he would on his rookie deal. If you do the breakdown, like I said, Malik Willis 5-year, $5.1 million deal over 4 years. There's guys that can go back to college and make more than that, or make around that. His total rookie, they can make close to his total rookie contract in 1 year, going back to college, going to the NFL and signing a 4-year contract, making that. You can go back to college and get a couple mil for 1 year. So why would I? Sign 4 years for $5 million when I can go back to college for 1 year and get a couple million. I get half of that in 1 year, or get close to half of that in 1 year. I don't need to go jump into the league right now and sign a 4-year deal and get double that. Hell, I can get half of that in 1 year. Essentially, if you do the breakdown, there's more in 1 year than what you would sign on his rookie deal in the NFL. If you're not, one of those top picks. But if you slide down the board, and you get NIL money in college and your projection ain't what it's supposed to be or what you think it should be, you can get more money going back with the NIL than with the NFL. Because like I said, the money is only going to grow. It's just a matter of whether you're going to be around when it grows to the point of your liking. Like I said, we haven't seen $35 million a year wide receivers in the NFL, but now we see them. And the not sad, but the scary part about it is there's other wide receivers that have to get paid that haven't gotten paid. And $35 million, what you see the highest paid receiver making now, that number is going to grow. 36, 37, 38. You're going to be there. You're going to be close to 40, or if not 40, in the coming years. Who would ever thought that we would see a $55 million a year quarterback in the NFL? But you see him now. And guess what? There's going to be other quarterbacks that are going to be coming up for paydays that are going to surpass $55 million a year. The money is only going to grow. It's only going to grow. What did we ever see? We'll get to a point where we see this big of a signing bonus or guaranteed money in these NFL contracts now? No, because the market is only going to grow the money. And I think that's what's going to happen with this NIL. The NIL money, what you see now, is only going to grow. The NIL is in its early stages. Like I said, the NIL only been around since 2021, maybe? Around that time. So it's in its early stages. So these players is getting $2-3 million now. The money is going to slowly go to 4. It's going to slowly go to 5. It's going to slowly go to 6. And sooner or later, before you know it, these players are going to be getting double. These players are going to be getting paid more than coaches. Before you know it, All of them ain't, but I'm saying it's gonna be players out there that's gonna be getting double digits in the millions, double digit millions before you know it. That's what I'm saying. At some point, this is, will the NFL get involved, or how would the NFL get involved? Because I don't know. That's NCAA, NFL. Now, NBA, the NBA money is different from the NFL money. You know what I mean? So, because you get NIL money too, not just in football. You get NIL money in basketball too. Sports in general, you getting NIL money. You getting paid. So, you could look at. You probably can say the same thing about the NBA, and it's coming out. But these contracts and stuff. Like I said, the NBA money is different from the NFL money. The NBA is not a contact sport, unlike football is in the NFL. The guarantees in the NFL ain't like the guarantees in the NBA. You don't even necessarily have to be a star player in the NBA to get a big ass payday. But if you in the NFL, you're not gonna get that big ass payday unless you one of them. But when you go to the NBA, you don't have to be one of them to get the big payday. The NBA pay your ass off potential. You could not do nothing for the first 3 years, and if you show potential, what you could be in the next 2 to 3 years, they'll pay the hell out you because of off of that potential that they see that you can be in the next 2 to 3 years, despite what you did in the previous 2 to 3 years. They'll pay your ass off of that potential. If you can consistently show growth in the first 2 to 3 years, they'll pay your ass off of the potential that they can see in the next 2 to 3 years. But in the NFL, if your ass ain't did shit, they ain't paying you shit. They ain't even gonna take the chance on saying, "Oh man, well this guy got the potential to be this or the potential to be that." Yeah, he got the potential to be, but his potential don't warrant for me to give out his ass $25 million a year. Now, if he goes somewhere else and do it, then he do it. That'll be their problem to deal with the cap space and pay his ass. But I need to be paying him off what he can do, not what I think he can do. But in the NBA, you got teams. These owners will pay guys off of what the potential of what potential that they can do and have in the near future. That's what I'm saying. The difference in NBA money and NFL money, because there's a lot of guys in the NBA. We look at their contract and be like, "God damn, he ain't worth that much." But to the ownership, they see the potential that this guy is young and he has the potential to be what they think he can be. So they're gonna pay his ass. But in the NFL, no, we ain't paying you. No, we'll let your ass test free agency. And if you go somewhere else and get it, then fine, dandy. You go and get it. But that'll be their problem and issue to deal with paying you that kind of money that you asking for and managing the cap with everybody else that they gotta pay or paying. So that's what I'm saying. This NIL, people don't think about it that deep. Like I said, once again, I'm all for players getting paid. This, that, and the third. Because the NCAA been making a shitload of money off of these athletes for years. I'm talking about a shitload of money for years. And anytime that they try to get some type of money under the table, they get suspended, the school gets sanctioned, and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm all for it because, like I said, a lot of these kids don't come from ideal situations. A lot of these kids come from single parent homes. A lot of these kids come from these bad areas, these bad neighborhoods. They don't have money. They making ends meet, and they've been doing it for a while. So once they get to a situation where somebody's taking advantage, because that's exactly what, in my opinion, with NCAA, they take advantage by making money off of you and you not making none. Now I don't see it as taking advantage of because you're making money now. Even though they still making money off you, but you are now able to make money and support your family and support a way of living for you that was much better than what it was prior. So a lot of people don't come from ideal situations. So I can understand why they need money because you profiting and making so much goddamn money off my talent that I can't even make none until I get to the professional level. And it ain't even no guarantee that I'm going to get to the professional level because something could happen or an injury or something could happen. And I may have been projected a first round pick. Now I slip to the third or fourth round due to my injury. And, that's once I slide, like I say, once you slide, so does your money. You're not going to make first round money in the fourth round. Now you put yourself in a position where you're in a late round pick and you got to go out there and prove yourself and make the roster. After you came in as a 4 or 5 star athlete, you had a devastating injury that took a hit on your career. Now you got to go in there and reprove yourself. And now you get to the point where if you can't prove yourself to be back on the level that what you was when you was a 4 or 5 star athlete, your ass out the league. And now you got to go through this loophole, through that loophole, jump through this hole, or go through this hole and that hole to try to prove yourself, and it just ain't gonna be the same, you know. So yeah, I'm all for them getting paid, but like I said, it's got to be some stipulations on it because now it's gonna start to have an effect in other places. Now that's why I brought up the fact where the NFL get involved because somebody's gonna do that one day, and if they ain't already done it, and the owner's gonna get pissed, they gonna bring that shit up at their owners only meeting, and they gonna get pissed. They gonna miss out on some money, which then in return is gonna cost the NFL some money. But if he don't go to one team, he's gonna go to another team. And I get it that you didn't make the money on this branch, but you made it on this branch. So essentially, it balanced out for the NFL. But when you look at the grand scheme thing, that may be a franchise that the NFL is trying to boost up. You know what I mean? That may be a player that franchise needed to boost them up. It might be a point in time you get where you in the NFL, and the NFL is really just kind of like, I'm not gonna say mediocre, but there's really no team of the NFL. It's just kind of everybody kind of middle of the pack at best. There's really no team that nobody's high on. You know what I mean? And I get it. It's fans out there that's fans of their team or whatever. They gonna watch and support their team no matter what. And then you also got them fans out there that just watch football in general. They don't really have a team that they're a fan of. They just like to watch football in general. And then there are also fans out there that are only fans of teams that are winning. There was a lot of people that were fans of the New England Patriots during the Tom Brady era there that weren't fans of the New England Patriots before Tom Brady got there. And they ass ain't there at New England now that Tom Brady's gone. And there was some fans that took their ass from New England where Brady was at and booked their ass down to Tampa when he went down there. I ain't never seen a large Tampa Bay fan base. But when Brady got down there, here come their ass. So you have fans that are fans of players regardless of what they play, and you have fans that are fans of teams regardless of who's on the team, and then you just got fans that like football in general, and they just a fan of the game regardless. They don't necessarily have a specific team that they're a fan and root for. So you get to a situation where we need this new team to emerge. Because what was the emergence of Kansas City prior to Pat Mahomes coming in? I don't recall Kansas City really being up there, unless you're going way back in the day, the Montanas, what I mean, way back then. But I'm saying in the few years before Pat Mahomes got there, they weren't the same level of team as they are now that Pat Mahomes is there. That team is just elevated. Pat Mahomes has elevated that team. He's a franchise player that elevated that team. Now, what if Pat Mahomes it was in the NIL era, and he went back to Texas Tech because first of all, there's not a lot of people that even know Pat Mahomes went to Texas Tech. So let's just put that shit out there. A lot of people don't even know Pat Mahomes went to Texas Tech. A lot of people weren't even following Pat Mahomes to even know he was at Texas Tech. So what if Pat Mahomes said, "Nah, I don't like this. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back." If he was in the NIL, "Nah, I'm gonna go back, man. I got another year eligibility at Texas Tech. I'm gonna go back, man. I'm gonna make about $3.5 million for 1 year." And remember, like I said, a lot of people went high on Pat Mahomes because look at the quarterbacks that was in that draft. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the draft in which Mitch Trubisky was in, Deshaun Watson was in, and those guys went ahead of Pat Mahomes. If I'm not mistaken, I might have my years messed up, but I'm pretty sure that was the draft that Trubisky was in, and he went higher, and Deshaun Watson went higher than Pat Mahomes. But what if he had said, "Nah, man, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna make about 3.5, almost $4 million to go back for another year. I got eligibility at Texas Tech. I'm gonna go back," and he do go back. Kansas City would have missed out on a franchise player that would have changed the trajectory of that organization. They Pat Mahomes, back-to-back Super Bowl champ. Hell, he going for the three-peat. So you look at what that franchise was before Pat Mahomes and what that franchise is at since drafting Pat Mahomes being there. Now, what if he had a did that and went back to Texas Tech and took some NIL money? Do you know how pissed off this fucking Kansas City would be when they have the guy in Andy Reid there? You know how pissed off they would be if Pat Mahomes was somewhere else doing that and they had a damn good chance to take uh, Pat Mahomes because teams was passing on him. And it was Kansas City that jumped up there and got him. They jumped up and got him. But they wouldn't have been able to do that had he not been on the board for them to do it. What if he had went back and they couldn't have jumped up there and got him? What do you think that Kansas City franchise would be without Pat Mahomes had he not came out in the draft and they jumped up there and got him and he had another year eligibility at Texas Tech and he went back and he was in the NIL area and took money, NIL money to return back at Texas Tech. And then he, went back into the draft the following year. Kansas City may not have even been in position to get him. So Pat Mahomes could have been somebody, the face of somebody else's franchise instead of Kansas City. Look at the trajectory of how the Kansas City organization is changed and just been, hell, like I said, they back-to-back Super Bowl champs. They going for the three-peat this year. So a lot of that stuff you got to factor in. Like I said, man, I'm not talking about the right now. I'm talking about like later on when you got other organizations and you got other business and brands that are going to be affected. Like I said, this is just the early stages of the NIL. The NIL ain't been around that long. So with anything else that's new, that's being implemented, there's kinks that's got to be ironed and worked out. And I think these are some of the kinks in the early stages of the NIL that got to still be ironed and worked out. And I'm going to say it again. I'm all for the players getting paid. It's just got to be some type of regulation put on it. Then you, like I said, you got the schools that's directly pay, they can directly pay them now. You're going to have to find a way to cap that shit. You can't have, because all schools, and I'm just talking about football right now, because you can equate the same thing to basketball. There are some schools that generate far more money from the football program than other schools generate from their football program. There are some schools that generate far more money from the basketball program than they do from the football program. Now, if you a school like the University of Kansas, which program do you think generates the most money? The football program or the basketball program? The basketball program. So, if they can just outright pay players, with them generating that much money in the basketball program, there's a kid sitting in somebody's living room talking to one coach, and that coach is really into the player, but that school doesn't generate that much money from the basketball program. And then here comes Kansas, say, oh man, look, man, we can give you this, but they only gonna be able to give you that, but we can give you this. Just come over there and be a Jayhawk. But at the same token, I'm just using that as an example, but at the same token, I didn't understand that if you are recruited or good enough to be recruited by Kansas, then you good enough to be recruited by other top 5 schools in the nation. Because Kansas is a basketball, it's a historical legendary basketball school. So if you're good enough to be recruited by Kansas, then you're gonna have other premier schools on your list too that you're probably good enough to be recruited by. I'm not gonna say you're gonna be recruited by, and I'm not talking bad about no school, but you're not gonna be have Kansas on your recruit list, and you ain't gonna have Kansas and fucking University of Miami, Ohio on your on your recruit list. That Miami, Ohio ain't gonna be on your list with Kansas on your list. If you got Kansas on your list, you probably got Arizona's, you probably got UCLA's, you probably got Duke's, North Carolina's, you probably got schools like that, Kentucky's, you probably got schools like that on your list too. If you got fucking Kansas up there, you ain't gonna have Kansas up there and then have Austin Peay. And not to talk bad about the other schools, but the talent level is a significant in the talent level, But I'm just using that as an example with, these schools paying out players. It's going to get to where it's going to be some schools that can come in and really talk to these kids and should be, basing off of that and preparing these kids for life, this, that, and third. Then somebody going to come with a bag of money and then it's going to fuck them up and be like, oh, man, we didn't get the player because we didn't have a big enough bag to get the player. And like I said before, a lot of these kids don't come from ideal situations. A lot of these kids coming from broken homes. They coming from bad neighborhoods. They coming from single parent homes. They coming from the check to check every week. They coming from having to go without. So of course, when money comes along, that's gonna change not only their life but change their parents' life or their family's life. Yeah, they gonna take the biggest bag. Unless it's just a kid that's got that values something other than money more than the money. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, you gotta expect that when you coming with that kind of bag and people coming from that kind of environment, growing up, and they can and over that little short period of time, they could change not only their lives, but they can change, their families' lives. And some people have kids at young age, and so they not only changing their life, but they doing it for them, their kids, their family. It's a whole lot of shit that play into it when you throwing around this NIL money to these kids. And so, I mean, that's just why I had to get on here and speak on some of the stipulations and things to think about when it comes to the NIL money. Like I said again, I'm all for them getting paid, but with it being in the early stages of the NIL, there's still some kinks that got to be worked out. Just like anything else in its early stages, it ain't all ironed out perfectly in the early stages. There's still a few kinks you got to iron out to ensure that it runs at its best for the long run, not just for the right now, but for the long run. If they plan to continue it for the long run, which I think they will, because if they making this kind of money from the NIL, the NCAA is only making more money. They not, you know, losing money. They somewhere are making more money. We may not see it in hindsight, but behind closed doors, the money is being made. So, yeah, man, it's just just thinking about the NIL and where it's headed, and will somebody like the NFL get involved based off the examples that I gave? You know what I'm saying? It just I had to really just speak on that when I seen scrolling down social media yesterday, and I seen Oklahoma State gonna be wearing the QR codes on the back of their helmet. That's what prompted me to think like, damn, boy, this NIL shit is about to get crazy. They getting paid. I'm all for it. I've said that several times before. But it's about to get crazy. It's about to get out of hand. It's about to go to another level. And like I said, if they don't go ahead and put some type of parameters on it, and kind of get it under control, so to speak, where it can be regulated much more, and people still get their money. Otherwise, it's just gonna spiral out of control, and then you're gonna see a lot of people, and it's gonna be hard for people to not watch football, especially college football. People be anticipating that shit since the end of last college season. They've been anticipating that since the national championship game. They've been anticipating when college football gonna come back. College football will be back. I think this weekend actually with, like I said, Florida State and Georgia Tech will be playing over in Ireland. And you got I think Delaware. Because I read something about the bus had some issues and they missed a bus ride to the airport to catch their flight all the way to Hawaii. I think they're going to be playing out of Hawaii Saturday, but I'm not sure if they're going to be. I don't know when they're going to leave to head to Hawaii. But that's a long goddamn way. I think it was a 10-hour flight. That's a long goddamn way to be fucking around when you got issues. There's a 10-hour flight. We got to be on it. The game is Saturday, and I know they got between 9 and Saturday to get there, but they got itinerary and stuff they need to hit. But from Delaware to Hawaii, that's a long goddamn flight. I think it's like 10 hours or something like that. But yeah, college football back. I just had to jump on here and give y'all my thoughts and what I'm thinking about the NIL and where it's headed. And just a few things that need to make adjustments to. Like I said, it's early in NIL, so a lot of kinks and stuff are still being worked out to ensure that this is something that's going to be worked to perfection or as close to perfection as possible for the longevity. But yeah, man, that's my time, man. Let me get out of here. Like I said, man, head over to YouTube, subscribe, smash that notification bell so you can get notified whenever I drop new content. Head over to Instagram to follow me on the sports page at damn_U2_sports talk. My personal page, if you want to follow that, is Ralph_Sneaks. You can tap the link in the bio and it'll take you right there where you can subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And like I said, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can get notified. To the next episode, man, I'm out.